Hey everybody, this LEGO Fire Station set from 1994 was called Flame Fighters. It was one of the largest, most grandiose, and last of the classic town era LEGO Fire Stations, back when pretty much all vehicles were made 4 studs wide still, with contemporary designs, whether you're dealing with the smallest car or a little go-kart or a heavy-duty truck. It was all done to a similar scale. Nothing was looking too futuristic or out there. Nothing was too crazy creative. It was just trying to mimic real life and bring it into LEGO scale and with LEGO parts. The whole thing was built on a printed 32 by 32 base with kind of a parking spot over here, a walkway, and then 2 main garage lanes. The garage used the classic roll-up door system with just a couple of opaque pieces on each side, the rest of them being transparent light blue. And there was plenty of space inside of there for the fire chief's car over on this side. However, the ladder truck just barely fit its tires on the base plate. You could fit it in about that far, so it always would stick out the back just a little bit, just wasn't quite deep enough. Not a whole lot was really going on inside of the garage, beyond the vehicles. Just a little bit of railing here, a single fire extinguisher, and then an extra walkie-talkie piece here. It looks like I need to open up the door just a little bit more to just barely be able to get this to clear out the front. One more railing there, and that's pretty much it. The guys could kind of hop over the railing here, or they could just walk around the back, and you had to kind of make up what was going on with the back of the building, because as usual, it's completely open on the back, so you had to kind of determine for yourself where everything ended. The first floor, as you can see, has absolutely nothing for detail inside of the building. The second floor is kind of a break room, it looks like. It just has a table and 2 chairs. And the top floor was reserved for what I'm assuming is the dispatch office, so just a couple of printed slope pieces were used there. One of them is actually properly a police related piece that shows a police officer there, and there's also a recording so you can record calls that are coming in. Up on the roof, just a couple of antennae here, and then a PA loudspeaker system. I like the windows that go around the sides, and also just the fact that these are the inverted sloped windows. A little bit of inset here on the middle level, and then once again kind of sloping outwards. It's just nice pieces. These were still the days when doors could be done with just 5 bricks of height. Nowadays everything is 6 bricks high, but this was plenty large enough for a figure to fit through there, so it worked. The top of the garage, meanwhile, doubled as the helicopter landing pad, and with the helicopter gone, you had the distinctive H shape there in tiles. Now, LEGO has a long history of very small and very simplistic things they called fire chief's cars, going back to the days before you could actually fit minifigures into any of them. This one's kind of jacked up in the back a little bit to make it a little extra tall. I don't know why. It works perfectly fine if you take a plate out from underneath and just let it be more level. Has an attachment on the back to place the walkie-talkie there. And this one at least does have some extra function to it compared to the normal ones, where this actually has the pantograph pieces, which can be raised up, and that becomes a light bar, so you can shine that at the area that's being worked at. You can change the angles of those around in different ways if you want to. Bring this up, however you want to see that displayed. But that's basically just what it does. It just shines out some light. So it's really kind of more of a utility piece of equipment rather than just a fire chief's car, but they kind of recommend that you put the fire chief himself in there. Now, incidentally, the set that I got has an extra printed piece, which actually doesn't go with this set. That should just be a plain non-printed 1x2 panel behind the seat. The truck here kind of looks like an Iveco to me from the front. Not too fancy of a design, but this has a lot of features built into it that make it actually better than it appears. Of course, it's got a hose reel. In this one, it's attached to the back. You've got a nozzle, an extra, of course, another walkie-talkie radio unit, a random lever that you can pull down to represent controlling the ladder itself, or maybe the flow of water. You've got a little compartment over here with a couple of air tanks that can be held in it. This can be opened up on the side, rather large, has a couple of axes in there and a control panel showing you some water pressure, I'm assuming. On the other side, you get even more stuff. I'm telling you, they really packed a lot of stuff into this space. Fire extinguisher right there, and then here, the rest of the breathing apparatus. So 2 units so that you can fully outfit any, or well, 2 of your figures from this set, but they could be any figures, just preferably ones that have the firemen's helmets on, and those will fit with them, with the air tanks from the other side. And then there are a couple of levers here also to represent valves that can be turned on and off. Of course, it doesn't actually do anything. Major feature of this one was the ladder itself, of course, and that's just on a pretty simple base that can pretty much angle anywhere, anyhow, anytime. So that could go more than 90 degrees up if you want to, and you could also extend the ladder out. And they still use these exact same pieces to this day. Extends out to about there and still holds on. So that can, it can reach up pretty high. It goes beyond what you can even see here, and you can bring it completely vertical. So that's good reach, and it has so much stuff included in the main base truck unit. I think that it doesn't look that great, doesn't have that much character to its appearance compared to others, even from the past as well as from the future relative to this one. But the number of features is really good. Opening doors, of course, just like on the car, and the roof would open up, and that's really where you would get your figure in and out, because the figures really can't come through just these little doors. And there you go. And that brings me to the fire helicopter that came with this set. And I think that for its style, for its size, for its parts budget, it looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. I like the traditional yellow that they still kept in there from the earliest fire helicopters of the minifigure age. It's decently durable. They did the good technique with jumpers underneath and the modified plate with a single center stud sized hole or anti-stud that's offset there. It holds the single wide tail boom together. Of course, you can spin these up, and had a couple of spray bars which could actually be retracted in, so when you're not using it, it would be like that. It could land like that, it could take off like that, and then when you want to come up to a fire, you could just bring these out. I think that's nice. I think it's just a good thing to help kids to imagine things a little bit more effectively, give them something to do. These are supposed to represent either water tanks or foam tanks, probably foaming agent tanks. The canopy is one that they used quite a bit in many different types of choppers, but it's cool. And you got a couple of control sticks there, so both of the hands of the operator, or the pilot, could be in use. Yeah, not bad. And then here's a look at all 4 of the minifigures included with this set up close. The fire chief on the left has the very special, very chiefly mustache, and also a printed helmet. Thankfully, that is a print, not a sticker there. And he has a unique torso print type. So compare this to this. It shows a different rank on there, I'm assuming. I don't know if there's a proper term for the guy in gray, if that's a particular kind of class of outfit, what gray represents in particular, but that particular torso was used on a number of figures in a number of different sets, and the last one that I got was in a completely different set, but it also had the exact same mustachioed face on there. Not a chiefly mustachioed face, but a mustachioed face. This is the pilot, of course, with the helmet on, with it's the same style of helmet that they use to this day, same types of visors. And then the last one is just a random figure to include back at home base, who I think is supposed to represent the dispatcher. Of course, feel free to swap heads between any of these at any time. All of the torso prints were gender neutral completely, which is a good thing. And there you go. That's it for those. I feel like this was a good set for its day, and really does just hold on to a lot of the fundamental goodness of Lego's minifig scale fire sets, going back to when they started with them in the late 1970s. Nothing really here to complain about for me. I think that everything has use. They made good use of space in general. Of course, they could have had more detail on the inside, but that would have bumped up the parts count. And I think this is about appropriate, just looking through different fire station sets over the years. Now, the interesting thing here, looking at an older set, is the price. You know, the price that I showed on the brick set panel up front, as always, was not adjusted for inflation. If you do adjust the price for inflation, you get to a price just a little bit under $90 USD in 2016 dollars, which brings the price per part number to about 20 cents per part, which is preposterous by today's standards. That's like double what you want to see. I mean, a set with a really high price to part ratio is going to be 15 cents per part or something like that. And that's where it's going to include a number of large and very specialized pieces. This did include the base plate, and that's really cool. I very much appreciate that. But 20 cents per part and almost $90 for the low parts count for this thing doesn't really stand up by today's standards. So stay tuned for a comparison video where I show this very set relative to and compared directly against a modern, current fire station set. It'll be interesting to see exactly how this holds up. But overall, my thoughts on this one are still very positive. Let me know what you think about this one looking back at it. Share your thoughts in a comment if you'd like to, and I'll talk to you again very soon.